Are you curious about the intense battle brewing between Boohoo and Revolution Beauty? Wondering why I haven't sold Boohoo despite the drama? In this video, I reveal the compelling reasons behind my decision and delve into the captivating clash that's shaping the future of these brands. Get ready for an eye-opening exploration of the Boohoo Revolution Beauty battle that will leave you thinking twice. So there is a lot of things going on about Boohoo and Revolution Beauty, so let's jump straight into things. So first things first, but Revolution Beauty's founders fiddled with the books. They cooked the books. This means that they actually fudged the numbers in order to make themselves achieve higher bonuses, but also make the company look like it's doing better than it is. Obviously, this is a concern because, hey, look, wow, Revolution Beauty has grown by 15 to 20%. Fantastic. Well, this means that obviously the valuation that shareholders at the time would have put on this share would have increased it. And you can see here that the auditor refused to write off the account because £9 million of sales should not have even been counted. They didn't tell the rest of the board about the secret deals, which gave the impression that Revolution's business was bigger than it is. The auditors therefore refused to sign off the accounts, larger than normal orders being sent to distributors just before the year end, with the purpose of meeting sales targets. The sweetheart deals for those distributors included Revolution not having to pay for them until this year. So obviously what they were doing, especially from a bonus perspective, is if they were trying to get good promising results from the last financial year, well, what a great idea, let's make all of the orders and make it seem like we're selling loads at the end of the last year and we'll pay for it at the start of the next financial year. Now, in this approach, it's a fantastic approach for a short-term mindset. It makes a lot of sense if you're trying to get a bonus for 1 year and you're going to get out after that. The fact that the founders of this company did this is utterly baffling, and this is where it really jumps into the whole conflict between Boohoo and Revolution. And this is one of the founders, Allsworth's Medichem lab, which was sold to Revolution for £26 million. That Medichem sold products from third parties to Revolution for a profit. You can see that Thomas Allsworth owns a 15.77% stake, the same as Adam Minto. You can see here that Boohoo Group apparently owned 12.85%. This is actually incorrect. When we look at this, Boohoo hold 26.6% of the issued share capital, and they announced, and they started fighting with fire here. They said that they were going to notify the board of Revolution Beauty. They're going to vote against the reappointment of Bob Holt, Derek Zisman, and Elizabeth Lake, which is the CEO. Basically, all of the important directors of the company and Boohoo have said, well, look, we hold a quarter of the share issued capital. We're not voting for you. In that place, they decided that they were going to propose 2 more directors. They suggested Alistair McGeorge, who is currently the non-executive chairman of East Imperial PLC and the original factory shop, and a non-executive director of Boohoo. I believe this is the guy that's had a real good experience. He's worked in like Matalan, really grown it, and I think he was very heavily based in New Look as well. So it's important to know. He's been within the retail industry over the last 30 years, and he's a qualified chartered accountant. Now, Neil Cattle is the next one, which has a significant UK PLC experience and is a non-executive director of Tiny Build. So he was the former chief financial officer of Boohoo from 2011 to 2022. Obviously, he's a chartered accountant, but the proposal is to push him into Revolution Beauty. So what happened here is Revolution Beauty clapped back. Well, if you think about it, if Boohoo owns 26.6% of the issued share capital, this means that Boohoo can vote for a quarter of it. So what they need to do right now is shut down the issued share capital. Well, what other than a better place to target than the 2 founders that have allegedly cooked the books? If you can get them 2 off of the voting, you could probably lead yourself to a more favourable approach. The mindset between, let's say, Adam Minto and Thomas Allsworth, well, they've gone, okay, look, we've not done very well here. We've cooked the books. We're at a bad position, but we might be able to get a cash payout. Well, Revolution Beauty were quick, as I say, because what they've done is they've sent a letter of claim to Mr. Minto on the 19th of May. And they said here that they've set a deadline for Mr. Minto to respond by the 7th of July. They take it extremely seriously, and that they're looking to recover material sums relating to the exceptional costs the company has incurred as a result of matters alleged. The Revolution Beauty Board slammed self-service and hostile Boohoo coup attempt as AGM is set to be postponed. Now this is clever because if we go back to the proposed legal proceedings here, we can note that by having this, well, you have a good reason to postpone the AGM. So they're going to do it till after that, hopefully once they've got the likes of Mr. Minto off of the voting scheme. However, this works also in Boohoo's favour because, okay, let's say they can't convert Mr. Minto to vote. Well, what ends up happening is his votes just aren't eligible if, of course, this lawsuit is claimed to be true. Well, in that case, he can't vote, but this means that Boohoo's percentage of the votes goes up to about 32%, which is more in favour of the board because obviously the board don't know what side he might go for, and given the act of the hostility from the company to the original founder, he's probably going to go against them. I would, in that kind of a defensive perspective, I'd be like, no, Bob Holt, get out of here. I want to focus on me. I'm going to get myself out there, self-preservation, all of that. He might not win the lawsuit, but he might have funds from Boohoo to at least get himself in a better financial position. Who knows? So in his position, I'd probably be aligning with Boohoo. So by them getting this lawsuit going and shutting down Minto, that's 15.77% of the total voting that is now unable to be touched. But again, as I say, this puts Boohoo's stake from 26 to 32%, giving them an even more controlling stake, and all they have to do is convert a few institutions, and it's in their favour. So obviously, Revolution Beauty here has actually attempted to postpone the AGM, which they'll be able to do, that's fine. They've slammed Boohoo's attempt to remove Chief Executive Bob Holt and senior colleagues as value-destructive, opportunistic, and self-serving, adding that it is not in shareholder interests. I find this a little bit hypocritical because the business hasn't actually been able to relist. And it says here that it will propose its 27th of June AGM to be postponed, as shareholders must be given sufficient time to consider whether they believe Boohoo's proposed seizure of majority control is a viable strategy. And it kicks off even more here. So Revolution Beauty have come back again. Look at the dates on this, the 21st of June. The board of Revolution Beauty wants to ensure value creation and believes Boohoo's hostile requisition is value destructive. They expect to deliver high single-digit growth in revenue and constant currency adjusted earnings before taxes, depreciation and amortization in high single-digit millions. The current directors and management team have navigated Revolution Beauty out of the chaos arising from the historic extensive management and governance issues within the business. Boohoo's actions appear to be a cynical attempt to seize control of the company without financial outlay nor compensation to Revolution Beauty shareholders, and would appear to be a reckless strategy unless Boohoo were confident of support of other shareholders in the company. And it says here the current directors believe Boohoo's actions create considerable risk to the prompt restoration of trading in the company's shares and its stakeholder relationships, and appear to be calculated to destabilize rather than support the business. Boohoo also released a further statement on Revolution Beauty. They said here that they want to also appoint Rachel Horsfield, and this is just to add more significant influence in that niche, and she was a former boss of the Hut Group, a very notable company in this space. If we look at Boohoo's ownership here, we can see here that this is very much dominated by individual insiders of a 23.2%, but there is quite a balance here. Important to note as we carry on going forward, because we will be talking about some notable insiders that have cropped up very recently. So Revolution Beauty finally clapped back and said, well, hang on, you know what? We've delayed the AGM. Now let's win over the shareholders. What are we going to do? Well, look at this. This is our trading update. Trading has been excellent, with sales up 60% year on year. Gross margins were 48.2%, which is up from 41.7%, and that basically cash on hand was 15.4 million versus 10.1 million this time last year. They say here that the performance demonstrates the quality of Revolution Beauty's products and consumer offer, and its ability to deliver growing sales into an expanding global retailer base. Boohoo's stated rationale for the proposed changes to the Revolution Beauty board is that the focus of the board must switch to growth. The company hopes that shareholders are reassured that the current board is similarly minded and that growth is being delivered without one shareholder taking control of the board at the expense of other interests of shareholders. It is also noteworthy that the group's trading performance has been delivered at the same time as rectifying the significant historical issues that have occurred under previous management. So again, they're clapping back here. They're saying, well, look at this. We've had some high growth here, and actually we don't need switch growth. The current executives are strong here, and this is really the background of the Boohoo and Revolution Beauty conflict that's ongoing at the moment. Now, the lawsuit against Adam Minto has affected the situation because, as I've said before, this means that there's an impact here. Now, if both of these founders, let's say, are alleged and they are found guilty of these financial crimes, then their votes are removed from this overall voting pool, which gives the executives and the board of Revolution Beauty a stronger stand to stand on, because then they can make sure they can dominate with a majority of that control. However, again, there are implications for the upcoming general meeting, and that is that these executive directors need time. So what they're doing is that they are biding time at the moment to ensure that they can regain control of shareholders and push back Boohoo. Prior to trading with Revolution Beauty, shares were down significantly following that fraudulent occurrence, and therefore, obviously, there are some problems with this going forward, and that the existing long-term shareholders of Revolution Beauty are in a poor position because they might have bought at a higher cost price, and if Boohoo are proposing to take it over in the midst of the fraud, well, this could be a huge overall concern for those longer term shareholders, especially if obviously the company has gotten past that fraudulent stage and probably would have deserved a re-rating in the overall price of the shares. So what could the potential outcomes and impacts be on both companies here? Well, for Revolution Beauty, I think there's a good chance that they can navigate their way out of this, although with the strength of Boohoo's share capital and voting power, it may be a very challenging feat to achieve. Obviously, as a Boohoo shareholder, I would be incentivized for Boohoo to continue and pursue the acquisition of Revolution Beauty, especially because it would be very complementary to their overall brands. Again, it is kind of hypocritical because when we look at Boohoo's financial performance here, we can see that their revenue has grown massively over a 5-year period here, how it's up over 100%, but overall their profits have gone from positive to negative. They lost £75.6 million in 2023, although arguably they also did have a free cash flow of £45.5 million, which is a big jump up and is actually very important for the company in their recovery. But again, when we compare this to the fact that Revolution Beauty has had high 60% sales growth in that year-over-year comparison, unless that original comparison is an unfair trading period, which it could be an exploit by the board to, impress shareholders in a very poor comparison period, but it's likely that they're not going to risk something like that, so again, it should be taken with consideration. Now, if you're interested in my analysis of Boohoo and the financial performance, I write weekly stock watch reports. The one on Boohoo is absolutely free, so if you'd like to check that one out, there's a link in the description down below. But there has been another impact to this that is going to impact or change the outcome of both of these companies, and this is Mike Ashley's Frasers Group. Now, he has been on an absolute shopping spree. Formerly known as Sports Direct, he's injected £300 million into listed rivals ranging from white goods sellers to AO World and Currys to fast fashion brands, which is ASOS and Boohoo. Said here that before he handed over the reins of his retail empire to his son, Michael Murray, 33, just over a year ago, saying that Mike Ashley looks to still be the person in control here. And it says here that Murray has spoken to the bosses of ASOS, Currys, AO World since Frasers appeared on their register. He wanted the relationships to be collaborative because before Mike Ashley would attempt to remove top executives where he wanted to become a key shareholder and obviously be a disruptive investor to take over for himself. But it was Ashley himself who spoke to Boohoo tycoon Mahmood Kumani, the owner and founder, because of their history. According to a person familiar with the matter, Frasers last year gatecrashed Boohoo's deal to buy ailing fashion rival Misguided and also bought competitor I Saw It First, set up by Kumani's brother. The sportswear billionaire also battled with Boohoo for control over Debenhams after the department store's collapse, which the fashion brand now owns. Obviously, Boohoo holds that stock. So Mike Ashley has actually entered the fray here, and he's putting significant chunks of money all the way around into these retail stocks. And this is quite interesting to me because a man like him, he's pretty much now the king of retail after Sir Philip Green and the fall of Arcadia. So Mike Ashley knows what he's doing. You could argue it's his son doing it. And sure, it's a heavy injection. But when we look at the overall size of Frasers Group, they're able to do this. And by doing this, as I said before, this could be a collaborative engagement. Mike Ashley here could be looking to promote, to list some of their products on ASOS's marketplace. Or they might want to sell some of Boohoo's products in one of their stores. Ideally, what they're trying to do here is set up good collaborative relationships. But Mike Ashley's track record here is very good in this regard. When he bought shares of JD Sports for £1 each in 2008, he offloaded some of them in 2016 when the stock hit more than £11. So this might just suggest, and this is the importance of insider buys here, that the effect here is that Mike Ashley is buying shares now because primarily, he thinks he's going to make money. Now, insiders can sell for any reason, but Mike Ashley, an insider, is buying for one reason, to make money. And he believes that these companies are undervalued. Otherwise, he just simply wouldn't be buying them, or he wants to take them over, and this is all a bit of a stint to hide the fact that he's looking to take them over. Who knows? Mostly, you're down 72% on Boohoo shares. Why have I decided to keep holding on to them? Now, despite my change of mindset, and let's say improvement here, that I do believe making a drastic change is not the wisest way of getting out of this situation. This means by selling a portion of my stock now, I don't think this is a good idea. I think things are just heating up for Boohoo, and I think they're in a good chance here of taking over Revolution Beauty, which they can distribute for all of their brands. Recently, they acquired Debenhams. Debenhams is a huge factor in this play because now they're diversified into beauty, homeware, and other different niches. By doing this, they can give a more comprehensive overall listing and hopefully grow sales, especially in something like beauty, where it's a lot more resilient and the demand is always there. It's reoccurring because everyone is looking for consistent makeup to improve their look, right? Now, I want to highlight here in my portfolio, right? Despite being so far underwater, I'm not selling. I don't think now is the chance to sell. And you might go, okay, Otis, but why aren't you buying shares of Boohoo right now? This is a very low price, right? And I can see that. However, my issue in the past was risk management. I ended up buying too many shares of a stock that took up too large of an overall exposure to my portfolio. You can see the case of this right now. Games Workshop represents a huge portion of my portfolio. In fact, it represents over 50%. I'm aware that this is a similar mistake as to what Boohoo did, because Boohoo at one point reached 70% of my portfolio and I didn't take any actions. But I'm cautious that a quick movement to trim back the position would not align with the long-term vision of growth. Instead, I plan to continually build up the value of my portfolio and invest in my other holdings to bring down the exposure of those two companies. And I do think that Boohoo is in with a good chance over the medium to longer term to recover here, especially as they have seen a positive free cash flow. And whilst I do think at the current price Boohoo is attractive, I'm aware that I've already gotten way too many shares and perhaps I've got too much of an exposure. Again, in hindsight, it's easy to say that, but I think overall, I'm probably not going to be buying more shares of Boohoo, but I'm not going to be selling. So I'm effectively holding them. But I do think this whole situation on Revolution Beauty and Boohoo is very interesting here. And if you like this video, definitely drop one of these, as it is much appreciated, and click that subscribe button down below. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic day.